Okay, Jeff, you got a lot going on, and you know, you're running for city council. Why?
Why? That's the million-dollar question, and but mainly because I believe that I think the city has been on a good course over the past few years, and we've had a council that seemingly works well with not only the community but other entities in and around the island. And I see a lot of progress being made, and I also see that there's been a lot more transparency and follow-through with a lot of their policies. And not that I agree 100% with everything they say, but I do agree with the majority of the work that they're doing and the direction that they're going, and want that to continue. My concern might be that we step backwards, and I think we've got a lot of momentum going forward, and I would like to be a part of that. Also, you know, I think I have some concerns as an individual and a business person with, you know, the status on the island to make sure we don't lose our flood and windstorm ratings. I think those are issues that we need to address, and that the city needs to maintain to maintain those statuses so our rates don't go, you know, off the chart and people can't live here. You know, I'd like to continue to make Galveston a place that people want to come to live and work, not just to come and work here, but to live here, and a place that, you know, that one out of three of my children have come back, and I want it to be a place for them, and hopefully the other two will, you know. But I want it to be a place that, you know, people come to stay, you know, children and grandchildren. Pretty much, basically, that's it.
Kathy, I know you have a question.
I always do have lots of questions. So what would you say would be your vision long-term? What should the city be planning for so that this is a city that generations will want to live in?
Well, I think Galveston is a business-friendly place in many ways, and in many ways it's not. But I think we need to continue to create a friendly business environment in terms of, you know, how we do business with the city and, you know, stuff like that. I think our schools, I think especially Ball High, gets a bad rap. You know, my three children all graduated from Ball High, went to outstanding universities. My oldest daughter actually got offered, you know, a full scholarship to Yale and didn't take it because it's too cold there, you know. And she's a product of the school system, you know. I've been real involved with scouts and youths and seen the kids that come out of our schools. And, you know, if you read the paper, you know, it's a bunch of thugs here, and it's not the case. It has a lot of issues, but they can be resolved. But I think we need to sell our school district better and promote the positive and good things that have come out of our schools. You know, another thing is the public safety perception. I mean, we've all heard, and it's true, that, you know, one of the issues that we have in dealing with public safety is we go from 50,000 to 250,000 people a year, on the weekends and over the summer. And you and I both experience that frustration in just trying to get from point A to point B. You know, it's a difficult thing to deal with traffic, but it's a good thing because, you know, my business depends on the tourists, and a lot of people in this room in one way or another depend on those people that come in. So I think public safety is a big key, and it's one of the things that, as I've gone around in the neighborhoods and talked to people, is a major concern. And also there's a lot of confusion on why certain issues haven't been resolved that, you know, to the public seem quite simple, but apparently, there's a lot more to some of these issues. So those issues, that one being the policeman's pension, is a major issue that we need to address. And I think once that's resolved, I think it would be beneficial, because one of the things that I would really like is more of our police officers to live here on the island, you know, and I don't know, you know, that's my personal preference. And let's see, I think I'm rambling here. Let's see, what was, and then the other thing is we need to continue to invest and reinvest in the infrastructure here on the island. One of those major things is the port. The port is such a generator of income and for the island, and not only, and when I say the port, I don't mean just the cruise terminal and the cruise ships, which are essential and they're good, but we need to also reinvest in the rest of the port and those businesses that, when I grew up as a kid, I started working for my father, and the first thing that my job was dealing with steamship people, ship crews and stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, there was like 11 or 15 steamship agencies in the Frost Bank building, U.S. National. And now, I think maybe Strawn Shipping might still be, I don't even know.
There's a couple still.
Yeah, but I mean, that was good money that was coming into the island. There were lots of jobs, and that's gone away. And that's something that I think we need to reinvest in our port and see that as not only a generator for income for the city, but also jobs for people here in Galveston, good jobs.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's at least one of these questions. I have two for you. One of them is about the port itself and whether you would, in terms of making the port a more viable economic entity, would you favor the port having taxing authority, either through whatever mechanism, because it doesn't now? And the second question, it comes from your questionnaire when you responded to the question which said, what are your plans for future economic development? Your answer was to help provide jobs and community stability. How would you do that? What kind of programs do you think would do that? And you can take them in any order you feel like.
Okay, sure. Well, the creating jobs, I think, to me, it's all kind of tied in together, because if we're supporting the port and we're developing infrastructure and bringing in new business, that's one mechanism to create jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, for me, I create jobs for a different class of people here on the island. The jobs that I have probably 5 management positions that oversee our businesses, and we employ anywhere from 60 to 150 people throughout the year. Some of those seasonal kids, and a few, we've recently got a few of these J1 student workers, but I prefer to invest in local people. I mean, those guys are great workers when they come, but it's not a good investment for me. I prefer to invest in locals that hopefully will be here, and I can either help develop them in their career and move forward, or they'll hopefully stay with me for many years. I'm very fortunate that I have 3 employees that have been with the company and myself for over 20 years, and so I think that's a good thing, for the island. In terms of I'm sorry, what was the question on the port?
The port.
The port question?
Does not have the ability to tax.
To tax, yeah.
And the question is, do you think the port should have, in one form or another, the ability to tax to do the work that the port
Separate from the,
separate from or even combined with the city's ability? There's lots of proposals been made, but the question is the concept. And I don't want to go into that too much because there's other people with questions.
Sure.
But you understand what I'm
Yes, yes. I think the port has to generate some other forms of income, and I think that may be better served by generating more business in the city and investing in the port. I always get leery of taxing and raising more taxes and stuff like that. It sounds good and it seems like an easy fix sometimes, but can the population carry that burden? Is it fair to the people living here? But also, I think we need to resolve a lot of the issues because, and I'm learning still a lot of this, Rob, you know, the port and the Parks Board and the city, on one level, I see it as they all belong to the city. They're just managed and run by different entities, and as I understand, that was set up for the reasons of checks and balances, which is good. And I think we need to somehow work to getting those, you know, I've heard the mayor's proposal of trying to reduce duplication, like why does the port have a police and why do these, you know, the Parks Board have this, that, and the other, and we have 3 of these when one could serve and the other. So I think there needs to be some collaboration between them, and then once that is agreed upon and we have some form of a vision of a direction that the city and the port and the Parks Board want to take to move forward for the benefit of Galveston and in some cases with the port, the region, and the county, how can we move forward? Then we can look at, you know, how tax dollars are either distributed or redistributed, or if that is a viable option, if that makes sense.
It's okay,
Yeah.
it's an answer, thank you.
Yeah.
Steve, you got a question?
Uh-huh.
I actually got 2. So one, to follow up on your
Uh-huh.
your comment just a second ago about the port and the Parks Board in the city. I don't think anybody would argue, you know, why wouldn't we want to save money from duplication of processes? The challenge I have seen is, and before I say this, let me agree with you. I think the city's made a lot of progress in the last few years. We see it. We see it with the streets and the sidewalks, and the port, I think, is turning to a new direction. So I think there's a lot of good things happening. The challenge has been in finding out where those savings can be is there's a bit of a, I'll just call it an attitude from the city of we do it better, so we'll just do it for you.
Right.
And that scares the hell out of me.
Yes.
So how do you prevent that, or how do you fix that so that there is true collaboration to where we can work together and find those savings?
That's the real challenge. You know, I agree with everything you said, and I do agree with, you know, with the issue or the attitude of the city that we can do it better, because in the past month or so, I've learned so much about some things that, you know, before you just hear at coffee and this and everybody's got their opinion and yada yada, but then when you go and you visit with these people and listen to them, and I agree, the city does have this attitude that they can do it better, and in some areas I think they're right, but in other areas I'm with you, I'm scared too. I don't like, you know, people to tell me what I can and can't do for any reason, you know. I mean, I agree, you know, it's kind of like the seatbelt law. When that came out, I was a kid, but I hated the idea that the government was telling me I have to wear a seatbelt, although I do, and it's a smart thing, and it's saved millions of lives. So there has to be some middle ground or some place that we can come together and adjust that attitude with the city. Because, and one of the areas that I found that most recently is with the navigation district and the bridge, and I sat in on some of their conversations with TxDOT and stuff. And then when I talked to the city who didn't attend that meeting, their whole story is, you know, we can do this better than all these other people. And I'm just thinking, well, I'm sure they can maybe manage part of it better, but they can't do the whole project. But, you know, but no, I agree. And I don't know that answer. I don't know how to give you that answer without it just sounding like, you know, just to give you an answer.
As a council member, do you, could you see yourself sitting down with, whether it's the city manager or management, and trying to make those processes or those changes happen? Or what would your role be?
Well, you know,
leading that?
I think my role would be that of an elected official as opposed to an individual, because I've sat with many different people over the years arguing permits, arguing rules, arguing code enforcement and stuff. And I don't see that as much different than being a council member, other than that I would be speaking for a larger group of people, you know, because one of the big issues with them is consistency. You know, it's very frustrating to go in and you know, say you need X, Y, and Z, and they say, well, no, but then you say, oh, well, so-and-so had X, Y, and Z, and they said, well, okay, let's look at this, you know. That's good and bad depending on if you're on the winning side of that, but at the same time, I think that's one of the issues that needs to be resolved. It's
Jeff, I think
Yeah.
Can I do my part too real quick?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, real quick.
And it goes back to Fred's initial question. You're a business operator, and you know, this council job pays really well. But it's gonna demand a lot of time, and you're gonna
Right.
get people like me calling you and asking for help on issues, or wanting to voice opinion on issues, or do you have the time, and you prepared for that kind of demand?
I think I do. Yeah, I do. One of the things that I'm very fortunate and blessed with is an extremely good management team. And in all honesty, if I didn't have that management team, I would have been out of business the second year I bought the restaurant business, because the restaurant business is business is business, and there's norms and there's rules that, you know, apply to business, and you can apply those to the restaurant business. But there's also this whole other subculture of things that I had no clue about, and it took me 2 years just to learn that. And if I hadn't had the staff and the good people, we would have never made it. So, you know, business, I do have the time because I have the luxury of having a wonderful staff. And I have the passion and desire for it. I've always been active in the community and have always had a sense of not just giving back, but being an active participant in youth's lives, and I was active with the food bank and stuff like that, because it's just, you know, it's just what you're supposed to do. You know, it's my responsibility to do this. Whether I'm elected or not, I feel like I'll still be civically active in one form or another. You know, it's kind of like, you know, this may be kind of silly, but, you know, back in Roman times, people that were civically had responsibility, their time came, and you didn't have an option not to do it. So, you know, I kind of feel like this is my time.
Okay, Terrell and then BJ, as we wind down.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Darrell, good.
One of the things by serving on the city council is our Bible, and that's the land regulations. We gotta know those rules in and out. And we gotta know them so well that we don't go by what our personal preference is, but what the law is, and what the ordinance is. You were at the last city council meeting where we had a business owner on Broadway. Gasoline stations are allowed on Broadway because it's a commercial zone. He was not putting in a gasoline station, he was just putting in 6 gas pumps. His plans, he spent over $67,000 with for them. He even changed those plans when council made recommendations that they wanted to see the canopy a little bit different. He tore down a really ugly building and was gonna make a really beautiful development, put up a huge sound wall, landscaping, all of those type of things. He applied for a PUD, and I'm not sure yet if you understand what a PUD is, but it's a zoning tool that allows a business or anyone to apply for that, and you can change some characteristics about it, like on Broadway, you only have so many curb cuts. Well, he needed, you know, a larger one to get gas tanks in and out, those type of things, a PUD you'd be able to do. I'd like to kind of get your idea, I mean, what you thought about it when we turned it down, because some of the council members just said, well, I don't want to see any more gas stations on Broadway, period. So therefore, we're going to turn you down. What was your take on that?
You know, to be honest with you, that was one of the saddest moments I've experienced in being a citizen of Galveston. I was there, and I could relate to everything that this man's gone through. I mean, my nightmare experience moving my downtown restaurant because of bureaucracy and stuff cost me $22,000 in delays and needless changes, mainly with the Galveston County Health District. So I understand that this man, this is one of the communication issues that has to change, because this man went to the city and this person told him that, this person told him that, and nobody told him the whole story up front, which cost you money and time. And he did everything. He canvassed the neighborhood and got signatures from everybody. He did everything right. He's investing in Galveston, in everything. And you know, and then because of one councilman's personal preference, you know, I guess he shot it down, and other council, and maybe there's some stuff I don't know that happened in the staff meeting or something, but, you know, and then, so they denied him, he lost, you know, he not only, and maybe he has another opportunity to come back and do it again, I don't know. But then, to make it even crazier, the gentleman behind him who's doing the Falstaff Brewery, the council just gave him carte blanche, and we're going to give him money, you know, and it's like, yes, that's going to be a great investment too, and I think that's a wonderful project, and it's going to stimulate lots of growth north of Broadway, but, you know, what was different between this other than one councilman's opinion that he doesn't want another gas station on Broadway? You know, what if he said he doesn't want another restaurant, or he doesn't want another this, that, or the other? That's the scary stuff that we have to be, you know, that not only council but the city, who's going to decide we don't need this or we don't need that.
I wanted just to also say the planning commission unanimously supported it.
Exactly, yeah, so.
And it said it was a valid PUD and everything was legal about it, but there was a personal preference, or the city council person.
A councilman, I mean, you don't get a personal opinion. It's kind of like being a juror, you know. Here's the information, you got to act on the law. You might not like it, but, you know, I don't get to change laws. Yeah.
And he does live in our district.
Oh,
He lives
okay.
on Christopher Square. And
Okay.
He's lived there over 20 years, and
Right,
so he's invested in the community, so he'll be a constituent.
okay.
Quick question, Jeff. I live in District 5.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts and concerns about District 5? Anything that you see needs to be fixed or remodeled, or what can you do for my district?
What can I do for your district?
And mine.
Well, we got you a new street. I'm working on our street. I'll be working
I hope
on
to God.
yeah.
Did you get my email that it's gonna be done before May?
Didn't.
I saw that yesterday. Yeah,
Done before May.
that'll
Sorry.
be great.
That's okay.
You know, I think what I can do is try to continue the wonderful communications that Terrell's done with the district, and help to, you know, communicate with the people in our district as to what their desires and needs are in terms of like the ROs and the R1s and stuff like that. God, I don't know, you know, going door to door has been so educational because so many people's preferences and needs are so varied and different, so,
Especially in District 5.
especially District 5.
Well, that was
You know,
my-
it's like this, you
said,
know.
Carolyn's done a wonderful
So-
job of keeping in touch with the
Yeah.
residents and all that. I would hope you would continue that.
Yes, okay.
Jeff, thanks for being here. We
My
appreciate your
pleasure,
time.
thank you.